Is your country on the list? Find out which Catholic-majority nations face the toughest challenges in 2025 and why they rank among the worst for their citizens. When you think of Catholic-majority countries, you might picture peace, faith, and vibrant communities. But not all Catholic nations share the same story. In today's video, we're diving into the top 10 worst Catholic countries in the world 2025. These rankings are based on social, economic, and religious challenges, human rights concerns, and how the faith is practiced. Stay tuned, you'll be surprised at some of the names on this list. And before we begin, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more deep dives into global topics. Country number 10. Venezuela's Catholic community struggles amidst a severe economic crisis. Hyperinflation has made basic necessities unaffordable for most citizens. The healthcare system is in shambles, with hospitals lacking medicine and equipment. Malnutrition affects millions, including vulnerable children. Political unrest and authoritarian governance create a climate of fear. Religious groups face challenges in addressing widespread poverty. Infrastructure failures lead to frequent power outages and water shortages. Crime rates are among the highest in the world, with kidnappings and robberies common. Corruption in government and public institutions exacerbates the crisis. The Catholic Church is often caught between political factions. Emigration has led to a brain drain, with millions fleeing to neighboring countries. Educational opportunities are limited due to underfunded schools. Urban areas face overcrowding and deteriorating living conditions. Rural communities are isolated, lacking basic services. Environmental degradation worsens due to illegal mining and deforestation. Social inequality creates divisions among citizens. Trust in religious institutions is declining amidst ongoing scandals. Youth engagement with the church is minimal due to disillusionment. Inflation affects the church's ability to maintain community programs. Despite immense hardship, the Catholic faith remains a source of hope for many Venezuelans. Country number 9. Poland is a deeply Catholic nation, yet it faces significant societal and political challenges. Political divisions create widespread unrest and polarize the population. Religious influence on politics often leads to controversial policies. Gender rights and LGBTQ+ issues are sources of intense social debate. Economic inequality persists, particularly in rural areas. The Catholic Church faces criticism for its involvement in political affairs. Younger generations are becoming increasingly secular and disengaged from the Church. Scandals involving clergy members have tarnished the Church's image. Migration issues create cultural and social tensions. Healthcare systems are overburdened and underfunded. The education system struggles to keep up with modern standards. Environmental concerns, such as deforestation and pollution, plague the nation. Urbanization leads to overcrowding and poor living conditions in major cities. The Church's stance on reproductive rights sparks significant controversy. Trust in religious institutions is declining due to perceived hypocrisy. Rising nationalism clashes with the Church's global message of unity. Mental health issues are on the rise, with inadequate resources for treatment. Religious festivals are losing popularity among the younger population. Social inequality hinders progress toward a more inclusive society. Despite challenges, Poland's Catholic heritage remains a cornerstone of its identity. Country number 8. Once a stronghold of Catholicism, Ireland faces increasing secularization. Historical abuses by the Catholic Church have deeply scarred the nation. Declining church attendance reflects a loss of faith in religious institutions. Political and social debates often clash with Catholic teachings. Economic disparities remain a challenge in both urban and rural areas. The housing crisis leaves many families without adequate shelter. Mental health services are insufficient to meet the growing demand. Immigration has brought cultural diversity but also new challenges. The Church's stance on reproductive rights has sparked national controversy. Youth engagement with religion is at an all-time low. The Church struggles to maintain its influence in educational institutions. Scandals involving clergy members have further eroded trust in the Church. Environmental concerns, such as water pollution, affect rural communities. Gender inequality persists in many social and religious contexts. Political unrest occasionally disrupts societal progress. Rural depopulation leaves many areas economically and socially isolated. Ireland's history of emigration continues as young people seek opportunities abroad. The Church's financial resources are strained by legal settlements. Secular movements challenge the Church's authority on moral issues. Despite these struggles, Ireland retains a rich Catholic cultural heritage. Country number 7. Spain, historically a Catholic nation, faces growing secularism in modern times. Political divisions between regions create significant unrest. The Catholic Church's influence on education and policy is increasingly challenged. Economic inequality persists, with high unemployment rates among the youth. Scandals involving clergy members have damaged the Church's reputation. Urbanization leads to overcrowding and housing shortages in major cities. Environmental issues, such as water scarcity, affect agricultural communities. Rural areas struggle with depopulation and lack of services. Migration pressures strain resources and social systems. Gender-based violence remains a critical issue despite legislative efforts. Church attendance is declining, especially among younger generations. Corruption scandals in politics and religious institutions erode public trust. Cultural tensions arise from Spain's diverse regional identities. Religious holidays are increasingly viewed as cultural rather than spiritual events. Public funding for the church sparks debates about separation of church and state. Mental health services are insufficient to meet societal needs. Rising secularism challenges traditional Catholic values. Aging populations create economic and social challenges. Spain's youth are turning to alternative spiritual practices or abandoning religion altogether. Despite these issues, Spain's Catholic legacy remains deeply ingrained in its culture. Country number 6. Argentina's Catholic heritage faces challenges from social and political issues. Economic crises leave millions in poverty and unemployment. Inflation rates make basic necessities unaffordable for many citizens. Political corruption undermines trust in leadership. Healthcare systems are overwhelmed, particularly in rural areas. Gender inequality and domestic violence are prevalent social issues. The Catholic Church struggles to retain its influence amid scandals. Youth engagement with religion is on a steady decline. Educational opportunities are limited for marginalized communities. Migration creates cultural tensions and strains resources. Environmental degradation, such as deforestation, affects rural livelihoods. Urban centers face overcrowding and deteriorating infrastructure. Scandals within the church further alienate the faithful. Social inequality hinders unity and progress. Mental health resources are scarce, leaving many without support. The church's stance on reproductive rights sparks national debates. Religious holidays are losing their spiritual significance for younger generations. Political instability disrupts long-term development plans. Indigenous communities face displacement and cultural erasure. Despite these struggles, Argentina's Catholic traditions remain a vital part of its identity. Country number 5. The DRC is a predominantly Catholic country plagued by extreme poverty and instability. Armed conflicts leave millions displaced and in constant fear. Corruption in government weakens social and economic structures. Basic healthcare services are unavailable to much of the population. Education systems are severely underfunded, leaving many children without schooling. Human rights abuses, including child labor and exploitation, are widespread. The Catholic Church struggles to address the nation's immense challenges. Environmental degradation, such as deforestation and mining, devastates ecosystems. Gender-based violence is a critical issue with limited legal recourse. Malnutrition and hunger affect millions, particularly in conflict zones. Infrastructure is virtually non-existent in many rural areas. Religious leaders often find themselves targeted in political conflicts. Trust in religious institutions is eroded by internal scandals. Youth engagement with the church is minimal due to disillusionment. Overpopulation in urban areas creates poor living conditions. Access to clean water is a luxury for many communities. The church's influence on politics is both praised and criticized. Migration due to conflict creates further social and economic strain. Public health crises, such as Ebola outbreaks, exacerbate instability. Despite immense hardship, the Catholic faith offers hope and resilience to many Congolese citizens. Country number 4. As the heart of Catholicism, Italy faces unique challenges despite its historical significance. Political instability often disrupts the country's progress on social and economic issues. Economic stagnation leaves many young people unemployed or underemployed. Corruption scandals have damaged trust in government institutions. The Vatican itself faces criticism for lack of transparency in financial dealings. Migration crises strain Italy's resources and infrastructure. Religious attendance is on the decline, particularly among younger generations. Cultural clashes arise due to the influx of migrants and refugees. Many rural communities struggle with depopulation and lack of services. Organized crime groups, like the mafia, still exert influence in many regions. Urban centers face increasing homelessness and poverty. Gender inequality persists in both religious and secular contexts. The Catholic Church's influence on policy often clashes with progressive ideals. Environmental issues, such as pollution and climate change, affect the nation. Scandals involving clergy members have eroded trust in the Church. Italy's aging population poses challenges for its healthcare and economy. Bureaucracy slows down necessary reforms and developments. Education systems struggle to adapt to modern demands. Rising secularism creates tension between traditional and contemporary values. Despite these struggles, Italy remains a global symbol of Catholic heritage and faith. Country number 3. Mexico is deeply Catholic, but it struggles with numerous socio-economic challenges. Drug cartels dominate many regions, creating a climate of fear and violence. Corruption at all levels of government weakens the country's institutions. Poverty rates remain high, particularly in indigenous and rural communities. Healthcare services are inadequate for much of the population. Education quality is inconsistent, leaving many students without proper opportunities. Human rights abuses, including enforced disappearances, are widespread. Environmental issues, such as water scarcity and deforestation, plague the nation. Political instability hinders long-term development. The Catholic Church has faced criticism for its handling of abuse cases. Urban areas are overcrowded, with poor infrastructure and living conditions. Indigenous populations face discrimination and lack basic services. Gender-based violence remains a critical issue, with limited protections for women. Rising inequality creates tension between rich and poor communities. Organized crime infiltrates even religious spaces, challenging the Church's authority. Religious attendance is declining among younger generations. Unemployment and underemployment are major economic challenges. Limited access to clean drinking water affects many communities. Migration issues, both internal and to the U.S., create additional strain. Despite these problems, Mexico's Catholic traditions remain a source of unity for many. Country number 2. Brazil is the largest Catholic majority country in the world, but it faces severe socio-economic issues. Widespread corruption in politics undermines trust in the government. Poverty affects a significant portion of the population, particularly in rural areas. Crime rates are alarmingly high, with frequent reports of violence and robberies. The Amazon rainforest, a global treasure, continues to suffer from deforestation. Inequality between urban and rural areas creates a stark contrast in living standards. Health services are overwhelmed, particularly in low-income communities. The education system fails to provide adequate resources for millions of children. Homelessness is a growing problem in major cities like São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. Environmental neglect has led to water pollution in many regions. Religious scandals within the Catholic Church have shaken public faith. Political divisions fuel unrest and hinder progress on critical issues. Urban poverty creates dangerous slum areas known as favelas. Youth unemployment rates remain stubbornly high. There is limited access to quality public transportation in rural areas. Drug trafficking networks contribute to violence and instability. Indigenous communities face displacement and loss of their ancestral lands. Economic inequality persists, with wealth concentrated among a small elite. Many Catholics are leaving the Church for Protestant denominations or secularism. Despite these struggles, Brazil remains culturally vibrant and deeply rooted in its Catholic traditions. Country number 1. The Philippines is one of the most prominent Catholic majority nations, yet it faces significant challenges. Poverty remains rampant, with over 20% of the population living below the poverty line. Natural disasters, including typhoons and earthquakes, continue to devastate communities annually. Corruption in government institutions hinders social and economic progress. The education system struggles with underfunding, leaving many children without access to quality schooling. Rising crime rates in urban areas create an unsafe environment for citizens. The healthcare system is stretched thin, especially in rural areas where medical facilities are lacking. Overpopulation in major cities contributes to poor living conditions and infrastructure issues. Environmental degradation, including deforestation and pollution, threatens the country's biodiversity. There is growing disillusionment among the youth regarding religious practices. The Catholic Church faces criticism for its stance on family planning and social issues. Drug-related violence and extrajudicial killings remain a dark chapter for the country. Political instability and power struggles disrupt long-term development plans. Access to clean water and sanitation is limited for millions of people. Displacement of indigenous communities further exacerbates inequality. Internet freedom is under threat due to increased government censorship. Social inequality remains a major barrier to unity among citizens. Church attendance is declining as younger generations seek alternative spiritual paths. Urban migration leads to overcrowded slums, worsening living conditions. Despite these challenges, the resilience of its people remains a source of hope. These countries remind us that faith alone isn't enough to overcome societal challenges. From economic instability to political unrest, each nation on this list has unique struggles that highlight the importance of compassion, justice, and unity. If you found today's video insightful, hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more eye-opening content. Together, let's stay informed and work toward a better future. See you in the next video.